So what's the strategy here? None of these people are AI researchers.
But you know what I gotta say? One thing I did not know that Mark was this good at Pokemon.
Pokemon?
Gotta catch them all.
Why, hello, friends. Welcome. I'm singing today. I'm so happy to the latest episode of More or Less.
Why are you singing?
You're singing because there's been some breaking news on the information.
There's been so much breaking news in this wild world of AI talent recruiting. The team just broke a story about Meta in talks to hire Daniel Gross and Nat Friedman, who are two AI superstars. But interestingly, one of the biggest backers of Safe Superintelligence, Ilya's company. So let the Meta OpenAI war continue.
I think we should give more color on who Nat and Daniel are for people who aren't so familiar.
These are the guys doing the folding. They're doing the folding company, folding sheets.
What?
Folding sheets?
Isn't Daniel Gross's company the people folding the sheets?
Is that a robot company? I don't know what that means.
I don't think so. I thought they were venture capitalists.
No. But didn't he start a company folding sheets that like Jeff Bezos gave $1 billion to like have humans fold sheets to build the data set for sheet folding and laundry?
I missed this.
I vaguely remember something about this, actually, Sam.
The whole problem is they don't have the robotics data set, so you need the humans with claws, like folding sheets. They can fold the sheet with 80% certainty.
I bet Tesla is doing this with
if
their
it's
humanoids.
Not Daniel Gross, it's someone like Daniel Gross. I thought it was Daniel Gross's thing.
It could be. I mean, Daniel Gross partnered sort of deeply with Ilya, one of the co-founders of OpenAI, who left amid the management crisis and who tried to oust Sam Altman. And he's been working in part with Safe Superintelligence, which is Ilya's research lab, and then also doing this fund with Nat Friedman, who is the founder of GitHub, which Microsoft bought, and then he left Microsoft. So by the time people listen to this, there will be a lot more out, but I can't share more at time of taping. But anyway, the team just break the story that they're joining, which follows Scale AI. So
what's the strategy here? None of these people are AI researchers. So what's the strategy here?
Maybe the research isn't where it's at. But you know what I got to say? One thing I did not know that Mark was this good at Pokemon.
Pokemon?
Gotta catch them all.
Sam, who do you predict is next?
Sure you did.
Yeah, who's next on the list? If he got
Charizard.
Alexander Wang, Nat Friedman, Daniel Gross.
What's the strategy here?
You know, I don't honestly, I spent the last couple of days doing something very different that I'll have talked to everyone about, but I think this is a talent war. Mark it's a great point. These are not the frontier AI researchers, but these are technical AI product leaders who work, who have tremendous experience in building these systems at scale and working with great engineers and researchers. So I think it's really about soaking up all the talent. I think it's very interesting that this pair is so closely aligned to Ilya's effort, which is more of a frontier kind of research project. And I don't know if at all indirectly this hurts them or sets them back. And that would be interesting in a competitive move. But I think it's about like talent concentration.
That's true, but Jess, both of these people have been operating as venture capitalists for the last 2 to 4 years, right?
Not that long. I mean, I don't think of either of them as venture capitalists. I'm going for some. I mean, they're not VCs the way you guys are VCs. No, I'm joking. I mean, they're like not running GitHub, being part of Microsoft. I mean, I think
the interesting question is like, and again, you never know how to read these things in the game of Pokemon, but Meta's always fundamentally been a products company, right? They've tried to do a bunch of basic research, right? And they have clearly on the hardware side and a bunch of other things in many years. They clearly have had very early AI efforts and stuff around that. But I know nothing about the details here that isn't material or public, or but it's like I just wonder how much the conversation is. Look, yes, the researchers matter. There aren't that many of them. They're like the dark wizards of this stuff. Maybe one gets a breakthrough, but how much of this is honestly getting great models going at this point?
Yeah.
It's just productionalization and product, right? And it's like back to the knitting of like applied stuff. And like, yeah, like you need, there's obviously a lot of depth you need and a lot of sophistication. You understand the systems, but is this more like we're going to take an app building platformy deployment approach versus a like wizardry approach? And I don't know the answer to that. It could be both. It could be you need all the things, but like that's kind of how I would be thinking about it, is like, is this really a game of dark magic, or is this just a game of operations and product?
I just looked at Daniel Gross's website, and I didn't realize that his primary title that he uses right now is co-founder of Safe Superintelligence. So that's actually what's going on here, right? Like Mark is trying to acquire at least half or some of the co-founders of Ilya's company. That appears to me like what the play is, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, I think more details will become clear, but I think that would be a reasonable interpretation.
Do you also think that OpenAI has an investment arm and a venture arm? Do you think Meta could have an AI-oriented venture?
They could, but why bother?
Yeah, it like doesn't matter.
It's not the game.
They're probably going to acquire a lot more. I think these people would be on the diligence
corp dev
committee
team for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, but like with AI experience.
I don't know.
Can I go back, Sam? One of the reasons I think you're right on that analysis is also like the cutting edge research can get commoditized very quickly. Like if DeepSeek cracked open something and now that's available to other people too, which isn't to say that like you don't need the cutting edge researchers.
Well,
but
it depends whether the innovations stay closed or open, whether it really is their dark magic here, or is it more just like, yeah, like look, you got to productionalize it well. I mean, I've been more and more impressed with more and more AI product things that are not actually fundamental innovation. They're just good product building and pipelines and managing lots of data and building the right experiences, you know?
I think our listeners would care to hear more about that Sam has found
Sam,
bright spots in AI.
You're both the expert in Meta, and, if that's your opinion, I'd love to hear more.
I've just been messing around with a lot of AI stuff. And it's like, it's feeling very application layer to me right now, right? And it might just be because I'm in the middle of building some applications for myself built on it. But it's like, yeah, this is all stuff. It's just more APIs, right? Like it's more APIs, and they are kind of somewhat correct and a little bit non-probable and a little bit probabilistic. But they're like it's just infrastructure. Look, I think the answer for many big companies and most things is just do all the things. Like there's no, startups have to think about do one thing, right? Startups think about like, I have one amount of budget and pure play, and that's all I'm going to do. And so if that's your you get in these big wars about like, is the future like fundamental research, or is it applied, or this or that? But like, it's all kind of navel gazing. The reality is if you're playing the bigger game, you're like, look, there's a bunch of cool stuff. Like Llama's not as good as some other stuff, right? Like, that's like not because of some deep research breakthrough. That's just like probably operations and like product stuff, right? So like there's some people who are pretty good at product and operations and building stuff, and like let's get them who are better than the talent we have. Like let's just get them in, and what they cost. Yeah. And then look, if we get to have some fundamental Dark Lord super wizard upgraded Charizard because he comes in, then like we'll take him. Like we'll do all the things.
It's fascinating. Did you guys hear, sorry, Britt, because it's on this point, did you guys hear like Altman railing against Meta on his brother's podcast this week? Yeah.
That Zuck's been trying to go after OpenAI employees and paying them like $100 million, but most of them have said no. You mean that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next day this happens.
That's all that he said.
Yeah, well, he also said, I think they're not going after our best people or something like that. I mean, it's just, it's a brawl, and that there's nothing unusual about this.
I mean, if he did get the best people, he's not going to be like, oh, you got my best people.
Right, exactly.
Like, what else are you going to say?
It's also, it's kind of, in saying it, like, if you didn't get offered the 100 million, then like, what are you doing? Right? Like, I mean, it has many implications. But I actually think one of the overlooked implications quickly is that, people talk about having complexes and CEOs who are obsessed with other founders and so on and so forth. And I think for some time now, Altman has he thinks a lot about Elon, and I think he thinks a lot about Mark. And if you look at the building of a social network and who he's hired too. So that's just interesting that there's a real rivalry forming, which is on one hand totally expected. But it is to me always interesting, like which founders kind of why they latch on to one company or another as rivals.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of one of the questions here, which is what are the battlegrounds, right? Like, you might be right that the fundamental wizardry doesn't matter anymore. And so who cares? But we're also not seeing any product innovation from basically anyone other than Google, at least at the Meg 7 level. Google's the main product innovator right now that's like pushing out Gemini, updates to Gemini, putting Gemini all over all the other products, right? I mean, OpenAI, without question, has the best product. You know, Grok's product is like definitely very good as well, but Meta's effectively not shipped good fundamental products, and they have not shipped, I mean, they've virtually shipped no AI products.
Well, I think it's probably behind the scenes. I think they've done a lot on the ad side. Yeah, all the ads are like AI generated, which is kind of interesting. I saw something on social this week with like this woman I know runs one of the biggest growth agencies that does a shitload of Facebook ad marketing for big brands, and is basically like, okay, 5 years from now, when all of our content and creative that's ever piped through the system is automatically generating all of the ads for you, and everyone's ads are just kind of automated, where's the real brand emotional
creators, man? Cult
growth factor? And it's I think like brands are going to have to shift so dramatically to doing other things because ads are going to be commoditized. Anyway.
What do you mean by that?
They should play their own Pokemon game.
I thought this was, sorry, this is a tangent and we can go back to the conversation, but I thought it was really interesting. It's Can right now. Yeah. So a lot of the best ads and best performing ads on Facebook and Instagram, you know, Facebook has all that data, Meta has all the data. They are now able to employ some of those strategies into the sort of long tail of advertisers and brands that are coming into Instagram and Facebook. So what used to be kind of private, sort of secret growth hacky knowledge is now getting spread out across all of these brands. The way that people create content, whether maybe there are emojis in it or like, you know, based on your audience type, it should be this type of content. And so I think that for those who used to be in the top 10% of most engaging ads and creative on these platforms, you know, now it'll really go towards the longer tail. And where is your real hook now as one of these top brands?
Well, that's the irony of capitalism, right? Is like perfectly efficient capitalism doesn't work, right? And like the reality is that like then just there's no margin in it, right? And I think that's what you're seeing with this stuff is like margins always tend towards zero. AI is just a major margin collapser. And now, you know, if you're this is the whole like sit in the middle and make all the money. You always want to sit in the middle of two different ecosystems and know everything and make all the money between them. Like that translator who spoke Indian or whatever the local dialect was, not Sasquatch. Who was the great guy in history?
I don't even know where this is going right now.
Okay, I'm thinking pilgrims. Is that where we are now?
Pilgrim. There was one Indian who like spoke English and also like whatever. Yes. And he just like, it was amazing. He just like played everyone off of everyone and made all the money and robbed everyone. And like, that's kind of like, you just want to sit at the between circles that don't know how to talk to each other.
What role is that right now in this era?
Well, be the proxy. You want to be the proxy, you know, like and the proxy is the platforms, right? Which is like, yeah, the big advertisers tells you, pays for all the experimentation and builds all the data. And then not directly, you just indirectly retail it to all the little guys, right? Or like, it's the same thing with like content and OpenAI. You like scrape the internet with all the expensive stuff that people spend a lot of money building. And yeah, you know, you repackage it enough so it doesn't look the same and you remarket it, right? And like, so it's just like, that's like the game. Right.
But why would any of these guys want to go work on ads in the feed?
Money.
I don't know, man. Like, I think people are working on these products because they want to work on AI.
Well, I don't know. Not for $100 million a year?
I think it's 4-year packages. For
$1 billion or for $100 million?
Well, they bought out the firm or the majority of the firm, I think, right? And it's $1 billion in AUM.
Are you updating on our reporting, Britt?
Yeah, I keep refreshing the page.
Okay, you should talk because I can't say things, but if you see it on the internet, feel free to say it.
As part of those talks, Meta's in discussions about partially buying out NFDG, the person said. And NFDG is $1 billion AUM firm.
So Britt is buying an expensive thing called the information, reading it, repackaging it,
expensive?
and posting it on your web.
It's less than a coffee a day. It's the cost of parking in San Francisco.
I thought the brand promises that it's expensive because price equals quality.
Luxury, Jess. It's a luxury brand.
You should probably make it more expensive.
I should.
And then send Britt a cease and desist.
No, yeah, Britt, that's a good point. Maybe we'll just wait 5 minutes and come back and can give everyone the full story. This is how reporting happens, people. Okay, so we're in this AI war. It's only getting more interesting.
It's getting more expensive. Is it getting more interesting?
The alliances are forming as well.
Okay, guys. So I'm going to pivot. I'm at Coatue annual conference called East Meets West. It's one of my favorite conferences of the year. It's a founder and investor conference. And one of the reasons it's so interesting is because Coatue, which is a hedge fund and a private tech investor, does a huge state of the markets, 2-hour, 90-minute keynote on all the things they're seeing in the public-private markets. And they actually just put it online. So people should...
I started reading it. I'm on page 50.
It's really long. But, obviously, this is the major question, right? How big is the AI super cycle? And I got to say, having come to this conference, and Sam, you've come many times too, everyone is just getting more and more exuberant, especially because now we're seeing IPOs again. Britt, for your prediction, a little M&A, there's a little liquidity. And so there's just no question. When I ask people their conviction in this thesis, they're 99%, right? In a sense. So I think it's a good time to, and Sam,
sounds like a good time to short when everyone's overconfident.
I read this presentation as very, very positive towards AI. I thought it was really interesting how they've mapped all the tech booms since the 80s.
They're big into cycles. And again, if you do a keynote, you need a cycle chart. So
fair.
Sorry, Britt. What just jumped out at you?
What jumped out at me was I wanted Sam's feedback because of some of the anti-AI standpoints Sam has taken. And this one is so pro-AI, which obviously is talking their own book in many ways. But they seem to think this continues to be the biggest technological revolution in the world, that the macro markets are all pointing towards positive signals other than, we have the tariff potential, all that. But so far that hasn't played out.
They say tokens are greater than tariffs. That's the sort of sentiment.
And that this is just going to keep getting bigger, faster, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, I'd have to read it to actually, a little more sophisticated than saying I'm just anti-AI. I think the question is, how do you make money in it? And where's the value?
Right.
And I do think there are plenty of things you can just index, right? And be small businesses that are going to get more efficient, but have hard assets. That's one people love, right? Or major tech platforms that can plug and play it and make themselves more profitable and fire a bunch of people. Hooray. There's plenty of ways to play more cloud and more, I think the question of to this point of what you're making about advertisers, which is capitalism tends towards efficiency, but that's the whole beauty of it, but requires structural inefficiency to profit. If there's no structural inefficiency, there's no profit, right? Which is why people talk about how AI is communist and, crypto is capitalist, right? Because the whole point of AI is to tend towards no margin. And so in that world, I think the question is just, how do you make money? Because I'm in the money game. And that's still really unclear. I do think there are interesting plays. I mean, I'm starting to see businesses, a lot of them are really old ideas that now maybe work, right? Mm-hmm. And that's interesting. I always love the show about cycles. There's also product cycles of ideas that have been around forever that go in big loops. And there's a list, I have a short list of things that we tried 10 years ago, didn't work, or wasn't there. Now is it there, right? That type of stuff is interesting. But then the difference is which of those are defensible real businesses where you can make a lot of money and grow really quickly, and which of those just get commoditized really quickly. And I think there are failure cases all over the place, right? I get pitched an assistant service a week, right? Because of the thin work we did. I think people misunderstand what was the problem with that, right? And I think that's not a good idea. I think there are other places that are good ideas, right? But that's really the real question to me.
I thought, just to be the voice of the information one more time for you, Jess, I also read the article today about the venture investors most exposed in the AI boom or bust
that
market.
was a fun one.
And the numbers that I thought were most compelling was that just in the last year, of the top 9 investors who led or co-led funding rounds, they spent $27.5 billion, average deal size of $372 million. In contrast, from like 22 to 24, the top 9 firms spent $10.8 billion for an average deal size of $96 million. So it's like 3 to 4x growth of deal size and spending just in the last 12 months. I found that really interesting.
And the concentration, like, it's just funny, like last year in the publics, all the concentration was in the Mag 7. And this year, it's like the concentration in the private markets is just getting insane. I mean, when you're raising like $40 billion rounds or whatever. I mean, and interestingly, the public markets you've seen, the Mag 7 are very split on whether they're up or down for the year. And you see companies like Apple and Google really dragging.
It's unfortunate to some extent. I was thinking about this last week, that it's unfortunate the private and public markets are structured in the way that they are right now, because so many people don't have access, to being able to index AI or these subsections of AI, right? Like, you might be able to buy the Mag 7 in order to do that. And I'm sure that's going to be Sam's response to what I'm saying. But the actual ability to go and get some alpha out of the newer school of AI stuff, like, it's just all private markets, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think that my reaction to that is, one, look, on first principles perspective, the accredited investor rules and that are really stupid and they're really antiquated. And I agree that there should be more access as like a somewhat libertarian to this stuff. On the flip side, it's like, man, like the average retail investor had access to private market stock right now, right? Like, they would lose so much money. Right. And like, I'm not a big protectionist guy, so like, I'm kind of okay with that. But like,
would they lose as much money as they're losing in crypto?
No, Bitcoin's like the most stable, solid thing you're going to get.
Crypto's doing okay.
I'm not talking about that part of crypto. I'm talking about the fast moving meme coin part of crypto.
I'm not. That is such a small. That's more the gambling world. Those guys have plenty of access to like random crazy shit to buy. Like, I'm not worried about them figuring it out. I think it's more like the hairdresser and the mom. Yeah,
but I mean, like, the hairdresser and the mom can't even buy OpenAI, right? Like, they probably would if they, and you might hate that business, but like,
or Stripe or SpaceX or.
I just don't know that the history. I mean, again, I'm a libertarian tending type person, so like, I'm fine with it, but like, the stories in those businesses are just not written, is like the thing. And I just don't. I mean, I think, at least with the Mag 7.
Yeah, you want to hold it for a year, though. Like, what's wrong with that? You want to hold it for a year or two, just like you hold anything else for a year. Like, it's kind of unfortunate that all these people that use ChatGPT can't access.
But then it's
stock.
just like, you're not an investor, you're a trader. And like, I'm not saying you can't make money trading, but like, it's a very different skill set than being like, I like ChatGPT, let me buy it. Like, when I was in 3rd grade, I won like the New Jersey stock picking contest.
Ooh.
Because there was like it was like a stock market game, and I won it because my friend and I recognized that the only way to win such a stupid short game was to put all of your money into one thing, right? And we put it all into this. We liked HBO. I had never heard of it. My friend liked HBO, and so we put it all on ticker HBO, and we won because it turned out to be some drug manufacturer that had like announced something, and crushed it. But it's all just random walks. So like, I just don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Well, Dave, I also think there's the biggest companies will have abundant private fundraising mechanisms, especially if you consider like debt and all this other kind of stuff. But at some point, Anthropic and OpenAI are going to be public, and
they have to.
And at some point could be late next year. Like, I don't know anything specific, but like, if you assume OpenAI is going to have to raise $100 billion in its next round, which is not an insane assumption, and it's just a comparison. Like, what's the cost of capital in the private markets?
Now it's $200 billion because every person costs $100 million. So
not 200.
I'm just saying, like, the price go up.
The talent.
Price go up.
Pokemon
yes.
Price go
so
up.
I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. And when I ask folks at this company, they always say, "Oh, we've got so many options and yada yada." But like, these will be public companies, absolutely. And and maybe sooner rather than later. And there's so many.
Can OpenAI go public? Have they solved their problem?
They've solved it. They say they've solved the problem.
The Microsoft problem or all the problems?
Well, guys, this was the other big news of the week.
I saw this.
OpenAI would like Microsoft to go down to a third from, I guess, around 49%. And it just seems like this relationship has completely deteriorated, which is expected, but also to me, like actually kind of wild how fast it's gone south.
How long has that been? A year?
The meta story here is how fast all of these cycles that always play out, but they usually take 2-3 years. This happened in 6 months, right?
But this is also why, like, you don't, like, the whole thing is kind of fraught about being like, oh, like, retail investors should invest in OpenAI. Because you're like, look, in the private markets, it's fucking cowboy time. Like, a company comes to you like, hey, I know you own half my company, but I'd rather you own a third.
I'd rather you own a third. And that exclusive license, I'd rather is not exclusive.
I understand signed a contract. I understand.
Is that really how he's negotiating? He's just, you're like, what is he using to defend?
Guys, I think the relationship is so tense that like the internal teams are even surprised that like the principals are talking. Like, I think it's really, really tense.
Whoa, really?
And and the journal.
What's the root of it? I mean, is what Sam said actually what's going on?
No, look, it was a shotgun marriage of convenience and a crafty one, right? Like, Sam needed the compute. And again, I don't know, was this 2 years ago?
And the money. He didn't have any
No, right. He needed the money and the compute. And Satya saw an opportunity. We basically did the
same deal at Facebook in the early days, right? Like,
for Azure. Yeah. And Satya needed a catalyst to his cloud business. And it was great until all of a sudden, you need a lot more money. You want your eggs in a lot of baskets. You both start competing with each other. I mean, we had a piece this week saying there are two ways if you're a business to get OpenAI APIs. You can get them from Microsoft or you can get them from OpenAI. What's OpenAI doing? It's cutting the price to undercut Microsoft. This is Microsoft's cloud
Which is funny
business.
because then they have to pay Microsoft back with the da.
Yeah.
I mean,
but then you're Sam and you're like, there's this guy called Masa and he can give me the money. And then there's this guy and actually I need more compute. I don't want to compete with Microsoft on their compute. So I'm going to go build 6 Stargates around the world without him. Right. I mean, and I don't know, maybe we're just at a low point here, but the journal reported that OpenAI had considered an antitrust complaint against Microsoft.
Look, at the end of the day, we just live in a lawless time. This is lawless behavior on all fronts, right? And we live in a time of power politics and lawlessness. And contracts aren't worth the thing. It's this is, they're not worth what they're written on. It's just power politics.
It's an interesting
point. To be clear, the contracts hold, and all of this is about what OpenAI wants to happen.
I understand the contracts hold, but it's the question that the Sam is trying to play the power politics lawless rulebook, and we'll see whether Microsoft says nope or says we need this other stuff, blah blah blah. Sure, we'll renegotiate. I mean,
I think they will. Don't you think?
What?
Do you think Microsoft will negotiate? You think
that's certainly what OpenAI wants.
There's so many more experts on our team than me at this, or so many people who know more. But if you've got that exclusivity and that no one else, I mean, Andy Jassy and Matt Garman, they can't get the OpenAI models because of this deal. There are some things now. OpenAI could launch new models. They could launch open source models that could be elsewhere. But I don't know. I wouldn't discount Satya's negotiating skills here. But
Satya's turned out to be pretty good so far. I mean, I think.
Yeah, it's totally wild. Can I pivot to another quick AI topic? And so the AI and jobs conversation has been reignited this week. Not that it ever goes away, but Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, issued a public memo saying, Amazon corporate workers AI is going to reduce our company and team size. And one just quick aside, and then we could get to the more substantive jobs issue, is the number of people I've met here who are trying to replace themselves with AI is extraordinary. So Sam, I think you're really ahead of the curve in building the SamBot. But honestly, the more senior and I would argue more impressive the person I meet.
What's the nature of the conversation?
The more likely they want to replace themselves. They want to build AI versions of their brain to make decisions, and they want those.
I think they don't want to manage anybody, is my guess.
It is.
They want no meetings and no one-on-ones.
It's not like they're trying to retire. It's sort of like they think another level will be unlocked by
it's like the 4-hour work week on steroids. If you can have 36 hours of your work week outsourced to your digital twin for all the one-on-ones and decisions, and 4 hours for the super strategic part.
But they still want to work 12 hours a day. They just want to do it alongside this thing.
They want the giant autocomplete to autocomplete their investing for them.
Well, like they want to, one example is like I like wake up in the night worried about Intel stock. And I want to be able to ask my brain whether I should be worried about Intel stock. Like it's sort of like to take out, we all know that we can be irrational and biased and all of this stuff. And like, if you learn your patterns, like what could you unlock with
But you can already do that with ChatGPT or any of these things. You teach it enough about how you think and it'll already do this for you.
Yeah. But I mean, the examples of the people I were talking to is like, they want to standardize every single decision they make on a platform. This is why the open close data of like Salesforce and Slack is becoming really an important issue too for businesses. They want to record every meeting. They want to take all the meeting notes. They want to.
I'm surprised they're not already doing this. I mean, like we have this at Offline Ventures. We have a system called Nexus that we built that basically is this. And we track every single decision, everything that we're doing. And it's like highly sophisticated version of this. But like, I thought everyone was doing that. It's kind of shocking.
Well, I can tell you newsrooms aren't, but then also to be able to like interface with it and be like, should I be worried about Intel or whatever? But anyway, my observation is like you have this real dichotomy, right? You have a lot of people worried about being disrupted by AI and probably for good reason. And then, but like the most senior people are actively trying to disrupt themselves with AI.
That makes total sense because they have the capital and like they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. And the people you're disrupting are the people who like the minions who are doing bad versions of this.
So how worried are you guys about the minions? I mean, this has been a big theme.
Well, we need them to buy
What
things.
do you mean?
If the minions don't buy things, then who am I selling my company selling?
And let's not I'm not going to call them that. The disrupted blue and white collar workers.
Call them the minions. The people that are going to get disrupted with jobs by AI.
I'm really not worried about the glorified autocomplete just like taking out all of the jobs anytime soon.
What is happening? Dave is calling this glorified autocomplete. Sam is finding pockets of opportunity in AI. Is it backwards, Dave? Like what's going on?
I think it is.
Okay, just checking.
I will say also, this has been bubbling up to, I watch the Today Show every morning just to be the voice of the people. I understand like what's happening in mainstream America. And the AI jobs thing has been all over the Today Show recently. People are worried about this. This is becoming a big deal. So I'm validating this.
So Dave's not worried.
Well, no, it's more what's the timeline and what is there to be worried about, right? I just think we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, like the amount of fervor about this year and what the timeline is for, all the jobs being replaced, I think is like dramatically overstated. I think that what we likely are moving more towards, Jess, is what you described, which is that like everyone's already, like the future's already here, right? Like everyone is using ChatGPT, like everyone.
I use Gemini.
And I think that the question is more, how does this play out, right? Like I think our Ricky Van Veen, who's been on the show with us before, I liked his newsletter this week where he was talking about how we're fastly moving towards a world. Are you
allowed to talk about that? Isn't it off the record?
What?
No, he just calls it that. That's the point. Yeah.
I'm just trying to enforce the rules branding here.
It's an email. You can forward it.
People yell at me on the internet because I won't pump this crypto coin that I launched just for a project called Do Not Sell, Do Not Buy. Like, when will you? I'm like, it's literally called Do Not Sell, Do Not Buy. Why would you have bought that?
Okay, Sam. The irony. So, I mean, Dave, sorry, talk about
Ricky's thing is, we're fastly, you'll know that AI has taken over when people start asking about the work product that you've created, like where everybody around the table today is like, oh, I caught you. You're using AI for that, right? Like that's like the thing in work meetings right now. Like, oh, Jess, I caught you. Like you totally wrote that with AI. And soon it's going to be the opposite, where people are like, you didn't use AI. Like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you use AI for this? And people are going to have to pretend like they did. They'll have to say, oh no, I totally used AI for that. Right?
I like that.
Look, the impacts I've seen this week that I think are worth noting. Like, I'm just personally, it used to be people like, you'd be like, don't pitch me a company unless you like have a demo. Like I don't want to like look at a deck. And now it's like, I don't even really want to talk to you unless you're making money, right? Like if you haven't built something end to end that like works, then we'll talk, right? And like I think it's like a really interesting like thing where like AI is just giving people so much leverage that you really should. I mean, the problem with that is like it doesn't necessarily make people better or worse. It's just more leverage in the ecosystem and like raises the temperature. And so Jess, I think to your question about like fancy capitalists trying to like replace each other so that they're not stressed about, you know, some stock. I mean, that is not the way history works, right? It used to be that like no one was stressed about that because everything was closed and you just like chilled out on Juneteenth. And now like, you know, now that like everything, there's more technology, more connectivity, more trading, everyone's stressed out all the time more. And candidly, with AIs and bots running around, you're just gonna be stressed out more, not less, right? Like
this is a good point.
I mean, is that I don't know. I guess, Sam, your point's a really good one. And I've been thinking about this a lot this week, too, because I open up my inbox on any given day now, and most of the pitches from founders are filled with AI. You can just see it. You can literally just see the long dashes. It's like anytime I see many, many long dashes in a pitch or a pitch deck, it's like, oh,
they're called M dashes, Dave.
Whatever.
I love them.
Yeah, the M dashes are everywhere. And I feel like people should know this, like at least care to remove the M dashes, you know, if you're going to pitch me with AI. But like, if you're pitching me with AI, do you even know what the idea is that you're pitching, right? Like, my new thing is like everyone's wearing a mask. It used to be that you would walk around the world in the professional setting and everyone wears a mask. No one shows their emotions. Everyone's like professional and buttoned up and like I know what I'm doing. I'm crushing it. I'm building a company, right? Like we've all kind of lived our lives in the professional world that way. And the internet was the place where nobody was wearing masks, right? Like everyone would just sort of say,
because everyone was a dog.
Yeah. And now AI is becoming the mask for everything, right? Like every email I read, every deck that I look at, like even the pitches that you're doing over Zoom, you're wondering like, are they reading AI to me right now? Or is this actually their idea? And so Sam, I actually like your point, which is like the only way to truly know if the company that you're being pitched is working is if there's revenue. Because everything before that could be actually generated by AI and it's not actually coming out of the founder's brain, like, which is like a really interesting question.
Standard aptitude, you know, has recently, you know, been, there's a lot going on there that's exciting. And like, it's like, look, it's proof of humanity matters. Like you kind of go
proof of idea.
We've been starting to get investor pitches that specifically call out that it was not written by AI. It's like a multi-page pitch. And so it seems like founders are already catching on to this and making sure their investors know.
That's why, like, for me, it's like, you know, like, look, that's my thing with Sambot is like, I'm going to quickly get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to talk to you unless you've passed Sambot. Because my problem is I get too much unqualified crap that like in my inbox, which makes my inbox unusable now because of all these stupid fucking AI pitches. And you know what I do now is I forward them all to our leads, and our leads rips them apart with AI and like returns to me and like pulls apart the decks and then returns to me being like, should I even give a shit or is this just like garbage, right? And so it's just a war of attrition, right?
So what matters? Relationships?
Money.
People?
Revenue.
Money? Yeah, show me
What do you mean by relationships, Jess?
Well, like, if you're ignoring these pitches, which makes sense. I haven't responded to a press release in 20 years.
Are you seeing this with press releases? Like, are you seeing like...
I just tune them out. I mean, no one pays attention.
That's been the case with press releases for ages.
No, maybe not press releases, but pitches. Like, you know, you've probably got a lot of people coming at you being like, will you write it this and that? And like, are you noticing that it's full of AI?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. But I also get a lot of like sales pitches for enterprise software for the team and stuff. And I just, you completely tune them out. But like I pick up my phone, you know, like.
Okay, so apply this across the entire economy. I mean, we were in Texas last week. We were talking to people. These are people removed from Silicon Valley. They're using it at work. I've got, friends in Montana working in the state government. They're using it at work, right? Like, so what does this mean applied across the entire economy?
Look, I think the whole thing is temperature go up. To Jess's point, relationship. Because everyone's fighting everyone with AI and melting the planet with these servers to no end.
Like actual temperature?
I also learned, do you guys know the proposed new OpenAI data center would be 1/3 the power of California?
It's just ridiculous. I mean, like, but this is like literally,
it's
literally just wars of attrition. We're seeing this in the Middle East. You fire a missile, I have an Iron Dome, we cancel each other. It's just an economic war.
It's a great point. I watched this political battle play out in my hometown over the last month or two, where the local school board was trying to close my elementary school. And I actually watched both sides were using AI. Like they were using AI to like out AI each other, like to battle over whether or not they should close all the neighborhood schools in a Montana town and build these like centralized super massive super schools. And like the parents want neighborhood schools, the school board wants super schools. And they were like, you could read it all. It's full of M dashes. It's basically just this war of attrition.
I have a great product idea. I feel like this similar to like wrestling. I feel like I would be interested in watching the live match of the local Montana elementary school battle with the AI versus AI going at it in real time, back and forth. Maybe like a divorce couple, like a couple on their way to divorce, like their AIs are like fighting with each. I think there's like some content opportunity here.
I think it's really not. I don't think it'd be really fast and. You know what it is? It's just everything is warfare, right? And so what this is like, imagine a chessboard and everyone's just going to like send their pawns at each other and they all slaughter each other. Or like imagine wars before machine guns. Like they all just like send columns of bullshit at each other. And then eventually the pawns kill each other and maybe the kings chat. You know what I mean? But it's pure war of attrition. Everything is about like a subversion or an angle. I mean, like, actually, just to riff on this more, it's like, what's interesting in warfare? You have two things going on right now. You have Iran and Israel, where like Iran's lobbing, these missiles at Israel, and Israel's just shooting them down. And it's just money on money. Interestingly, what actually is leveraged, right, is spying and subversion shit, where you like throw a bunch of drones on a truck and drive them up into the enemy, and they don't notice it. And so like where there's asymmetry, right, where the technology creates a new asymmetry that you can exploit. So I just think that's kind of how everything works, is like, that's why your inbox will just be a war of you send me more automated AI pitches and I respond to them with more bullshit, right?
So what's the winning strat? If you want to have impact, if you want to build something, if you want to do something out of the norm, right? Like one of the things as you're talking about this, I'm realizing I'm wrestling with is like, I feel like I have to focus more because like each battle is a little more intense and a little more encompassing and a little more like full on. And so it's sort of like, I've been thinking a lot about like, what do we focus on? Because like winning at this and winning at that is going to be like intense. Like it's going to be fast. Like we have to have our act together. Like we're competing with like technology doing it. It's hard to get people's attention. And so like, I kind of want to be choosier.
What are you talking about within the information? And
just like from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a founder out there, you're an operator, like how do you play in this world?
Yeah. How do you play in like the full out warfare world that moves 10 times as fast as it did before?
It's an interesting question.
I think the answer is like, it's trust in relationships, right? And like, that's why the creator strategy exists. It's why cults exist.
Is that true, Sam? I mean, it's like, if everyone's this distracted and it's happening this fast, I mean, does that actually override things today? Like everybody's attention is so split.
I just think that's temporal. I think it's going to be background noise of the universe, right? It's just better spam and like.
But what would your advice be to a founder then? To like
find a niche you fucking love and that you want to like create community around and become the cult leader of. Lead the cult, do interesting stuff, right? Build trust, maintain that trust and identity and reputation like it is your precious lifeblood, because it's the most important thing you possibly have, right? And then build people around you who come to you for trust and for valuable opinions and for, differentiated insight. Like that's the only thing that exists, right?
But I think like if you're splitting your time operationally, like just as like we've got to be focused because there's like we got to hammer these 4 things before people are competing with us. But now you also need to be somewhat more outbound with building relationships and at conferences and all these things.
Or do you need to be outbound at all? Like if everybody is outbound with AI all the time and the feeds are just nonsense, like it might be that you just don't focus on any of these surfaces anymore. Like you go direct to customer.
You gotta be really in tune. I think everything Sam says is spot on. And you have to be like really in tune and consistent about your uniqueness and your story as your cult leader.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm starting to believe that you shouldn't focus on trying to compete in any of these AI surfaces anymore. Like, there's like no point in competing in the feeds.
Well, like, I'm in the news business, and so like I can't.
But you don't need to compete in feeds, Jeff. You just message people. You just text people the information they want to know. Like, you don't need, like, it's not like that from you because they trust you and they want to hear from you. It's like, it's not like, I just don't, everything is a war of attrition. Everything happens faster. You don't want to compete. Like, I think that's kind of one of the interesting things about capitalism is like, if you're competing, it's going to be brutal, right? So you just need to find places where you just are so structurally advantaged or do something so uniquely or so powerfully that you're just not competing. There's no one to compete with.
Yeah. So where does the creator economy exist then, right? Because it's not going to exist in Meta's feeds, TikTok's feeds, Twitter's feeds, right? Like, because why would you ever compete there? Like, I'm actually starting to wonder when the massive class action lawsuit's going to happen, where like all of these creators that built up these enormous audiences on the social media platforms and then had the audiences taken away by the algorithm. It's like no longer an asset for you, right? Like, it doesn't make sense that this hasn't happened already.
I don't know. I don't think that that's a winning class action lawsuit, but I think it's more like, look, you know this, Dave, you of all people were around for this, right? Like, which is, there was an early strategy when the internet was fresh and young and new, and Facebook was fresh and young and new, where you could just like dump a bunch of free distribution, and whoever happened to be there got to, like, it was a gold rush. It was like a staking era, right? Everyone homesteaded, right?
But none of it has value. There's no lasting value to it anymore.
No, it's not land, right? Like it's like because it can be but I think it's not deeded the same way, right? But I think the upshot is like
it was deeded and then the deed was changed.
Well, it was never deeded. It was just like a bunch of free distribution that was dumped on the world, and like people picked it up and got really excited about it. I mean, I think the lasting stuff is just if you're a creator, like, one, I'm very short entertainment because that's just a complete war of entertainment, right? Like, dopamine hits is a war of entertainment. You're going to lose. There's always going to be someone else competing for the attention and be bigger and faster and better. But if you actually have trust in a community, the whole point is people actually want to find you. Like, they actually care about your opinion. You're not being inserted into their lives. They're seeking you out. And like, that's where you want to be.
I was actually going to say this when Jess was talking, that is the strategy now attraction, not outbound, right? Like, you want to attract people to you, not push out to them, right? Like, be attractive, don't be
smaller,
outbound.
Deeper versus broader and shallower.
I actually had this conversation, hilarious. We just had a 4-hour, check-in on our creator fund strategy for the second half.
Magnetism, not transmission.
One of the big things we discussed, this was like a major, fresh off the slow internal like strategy session, is how it really makes no sense to go outbound to creators, right? For financing. Like, we don't do it in our core venture practice. It's like too low hit. It's too much work. We're not trying to get introductions to people. It's like, what you want to do is you market, you tell your story, and the people who want to work with you show up, right? It's farming, it's not hunting. But like, hunting era is just over in everything, right? You need to farm, and whether it's aura farming or real farming, right? Like, the future is farming.
No, the future is creating an aura. Be magnetic.
Right? Well, yes, that's the foundation of farming.
And
good
repulsive.
soil.
Just have a force field that people go one way or the other.
You need to build. I certainly do this somewhat intentionally. For those who don't realize, is like, you want to attract the right people and actively repel the wrong people, right? Because you can't deal with so much.
You do the best job of this of all of us, Sam.
You can't deal with it. So like, your job, I think, if you're existing in the battlefield, right, of like communication and information and finance, whatever, I think step one is, you want to like tell your story and attract the right people that you really want to talk to. But I really think people miss the importance of, like, you get overwhelmed with people and cons. You actually have to work hard to like actively repel people you don't want to deal with, right? So that you only are talking, your attention is well spent. I mean, this is a problem. I think, like, I've noticed this because, like, I think you've seen this, Dave, a lot. So venture capitalists who have like too many Twitter followers can't really use Twitter, right? Like, you need like the right scaled Twitter following of like intense loyalty and people who like are into what you're doing. If you get too broad, it just kind of sucks, right? And so like,
this happens with podcasts. I mean, it happens across everything, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're seeing this in our own feedback on this pod, right? Like people like how focused it is and how, we don't.
You told me to never look at the feedback, so I haven't.
Sorry.
I don't either.
Dave once told me to never look at the feedback, so I haven't.
All I pay attention to is that the right people in the right positions tell me they listen. And that means a lot to me, that we're targeting the right audience here. So
I also think it's just tough out there, folks. So I'm just going to say, if you're a founder, I see you. I think I think it's a very hard time because
uncharted territories.
There's strategies with a lot of potential, but there's also a ton of noise. And to find the course, set the course, and then bring a company along with the course is
stay nimble enough to change the course every 2 weeks as the industry is shifting.
Yeah. It's like, but also just be aggressively yourself, and like be magnetic. Like try to make a great something that people come to, right? Like I think the point is like, Jess, people seek you guys out. You do great work, right? Like I think this is a really solid point. Whether you're building a product or media or whatever, right? Like you want to build something that's like very, very high quality that people want to seek out.
And specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just is. It's also some days I wish I wasn't building a product that had to be built every day, multiple times.
Yeah, that is tough.
It's a lot of work.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, what else is cooking for you guys? We're there in here. I know you all come June 20th will be listening to the full new Benson Boone album the second it drops, as I will be. But,
there's a lot of good new music happening. Miley Cyrus's album is great. Sabrina Carpenter has a new album coming. I mean, Gaga's coming to SF. Apparently Gaga lives in Marin now part-time. People are already scouting her out. So Silicon Valley is becoming hipper and hipper.
The music scene. Yeah, it says no one ever, but well, wonderful. Well, any last thoughts, guys, before we send people to their weekends? We're just so tired.
Yeah. There's no more well, let me refresh the article and see if there's anything new. Oh, it's all done now. The article's fully out. Oh gosh.
My thoughts are with the Middle East. We don't have to get into the politics, but it's a real bummer, everything going on.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a very sad and somewhat scary time.
We had one of the chief science officers of one of our startups. His lab got hit with a missile yesterday. So we had a direct, very direct interaction with what's going on.
I met with, and I didn't ask for permission, so I won't use their name. I met with an amazing Israeli startup yesterday here that, one founder who came via boat because obviously planes weren't allowed to leave, boat then plane. But also they pushed back their launch by 4 days because of the war. It's just amazing, the resilience and the cool things being built out there. So with that, we'll say a big thank you to everyone who listened, who comments, to the back channel. So much news happening. I think we gave you a little real time in this pod, but more to come. And we'll see you back here next week for another episode of More or Less. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a virtual high five by rating it and reviewing it on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Find more information about each episode in the show notes and follow us on social media by searching for @MoreOrLess, @DaveMorin, @Lesson, @JLesson, and as for me, I'm @Brit. See you guys next time.